Good morning. It is 11:45 a.m. on a Monday. It is January 6th, 2023, and I am feeling inspired to make a video today. I committed to making daily videos, which I haven't fully done yet. I seem to be a once a week kind of gal, and I just told myself, Deb, do it more. Like making videos what you do. It was that time of year again for the full-time purpose to come around with Victor Odo and Aaron Dowdy, who were my original inspiration from YouTube, and actually went as far as to meet Victor Odo and convince myself that I completely fucked that up because I acted weird and starstruck by him, which I was. I totally was, and I didn't want to be, but I couldn't help it. It's just that that's just me. You know, I build people up in my mind, and I either idolize them to the point where they become, Aaron Dowdy calls it putting people on a pedestal. That's another reason I favored him, because a lot of the things he talks about is I can relate to very much, about putting yourself in someone else's frame. And I know that that came from the way I grew up. You know, I grew up in a rather large family. There were 6 of us kids and the 2 parents. So I always had others to consider around me. There was always a little group around me all the time in my life. So this is the first time in my life that I don't have that. I don't have a group around me. I don't have my children or my husband. It's just me. And I realized just how much I based everything I did, from as small of a decision as, can I get a drink of water now or should I wait? Something as minor as that. Every decision I made had somebody else to consider first before myself. And I had done it so long, I didn't even think that I was doing anything unusual. Does that make sense? Because my teacher, Marissa Peer, who I trained under, says you play the only part you've ever known until that part becomes your own. And once that part becomes who you are, you just think that's it. Like I just said it earlier, I couldn't help it. That's just how I've been. You know, when you get an ingrained habit or character, and you know, and I think that's the reason I think I was drawn to psychology and astrology, because those were systems in place that kind of said, hey, this stems from that, and this means you're going to do this, and this is who you are. It's all about trying to figure out, who am I, you know? But I was basing who I was on whoever was living with me, you know? I fell into the mother role very easily because that's what I wanted to be. From the age of probably 5, I knew I wanted to be a mom. But from the age of 8, I knew I was going to be a mom. I have a very vivid memory of walking to the bus. It was a gravel driveway, and my mom was pregnant. And I was thinking about what she was going to be going through giving birth and the pain it would cause. And I knew I was very sensitive. You know, I would get stung by a bee, or, you know, skin my knee or whatever, and, you know, would cry, and my mom would say, you know, Deb, you need to get tough. You know, that if you can't handle that, how are you going to handle childbirth? You know, so she kind of prepped me for, like, if you think that hurts, wait till this happens. And I convinced myself at an early age that I couldn't handle pain, and that, you know, giving birth was supposed to be the most painful thing. Because I used to ask, you know, what's the most painful thing you can experience? You know, physically. I didn't understand emotional pain at that time. I just said, what's the most painful thing you can experience? And the 2 things that I heard was, well, 3 things: birth, dental work, and passing a kidney stone. Those were like and passing a kidney stone was supposed to be the closest to giving birth. And I remember thinking, well, a man can go through that, so, you know, no one's really, because I didn't like the idea of because of being born a woman, that I had to suffer the most painful thing in the world to experience, to give birth, which is something that, you know, I believed I wanted to do, and I did want to do, and I did it. And but back to that memory, as I was walking to the school bus, I remember just thinking of my mom, and she's going to be giving birth soon, and what's going to happen if it happens to me. And it's like I knew. I just stopped, and I knew that I was going to be a mom. Somehow I saw myself in the future, and I can't tell you the exact picture. I just knew that not only did I become a mom, but I did it more than once, and I was just fine. And that's exactly what happened. I ended up with 2 sons. And according to other stories that I've heard with women in their pregnancies, my pregnancy and birth was rather good, especially considering how sensitive I knew I was, and I handled it just fine. Everything went fine. I didn't realize I was going to get into that subject, as I've been just prepping myself before I get on camera, as far as, when I start feeling that inspiration and feeling that there's something I want to talk about. That's when I usually all right, Deb, get camera ready, get camera ready, get on camera. And my goal is to talk for 10 to 15 minutes each time, and without editing, because if I worry about editing right now, I won't make the video, because I still don't know how to edit a video, at least not the way every YouTube video I see now has, words going across it, and they just look so advanced. And then somebody told me, I don't know who it was, I think it was a random stranger, when I was talking about my struggles with, having a YouTube channel, but being too hesitant to post anything because I don't know how to edit. And they said, oh no, people want live, they want unedited. And I was like, really? And I thought about that in regards to going to church, that my favorite meeting of all was the fast and testimony meeting, which could be the closest compared to open mic. Basically anyone at all in the congregation of any age, or anyone was allowed to, walk up and speak. And they spoke from the heart. It wasn't scripted. It wasn't like, okay, you're gonna give a talk or a speech. And we called them talks, not speeches. But, when asked to give one, you were given a subject and basically made an outline. And I thought of that when I was getting ready to turn on the camera. I thought, yeah, ma'am, you've never prepared for it. You've just done, all of your videos have been impromptu. So this one is an impromptu video. The next video I do, I'm gonna sit down and actually plan it like I would a talk. Like, this is what I'm gonna talk about, cover my 5 points or 3 points, or, do it the way they tell you to do it to give a successful talk, So, whew. I felt like I was talking longer. It's only 8 minutes. But I think this is the stopping point. I was gonna go to 15, but I'm feeling like I need to review this and get on my walk. I'm gonna walk and tan and do a recording, audio recording. I do voice recordings when I walk to my tanning appointments, in an attempt to just get comfortable hearing my own voice. And I still remember the first time I heard my voice on a tape recorder. And I was like, that's not what I sound like. I was so shocked. I'm like, that's not how I sound. Is that what other people hear? And it's like, yeah, it sounds just like you. And it wasn't until later that someone told me, I think my dad told me, well, it's because when you're speaking, you're hearing it from, it's a different, you can't hear your own voice the same way. So it is, a lot of people don't like hearing their own voice. So I found out I wasn't the only one that thought there was something wrong. It was very common. And also with actors, they don't watch their own movies. They don't like to see themselves on film. So my doing these videos is an attempt to be comfortable with myself and how I appear to others. And it's all been a learning process. And I can hear pretty much every mentor I've ever had has told me the same thing, is just do it. When I was taking my RTT notes today, I'm studying practitioner marketing on how to market myself, taught by both my teacher and her husband. And they're always, you got to practice. You just got to do it. And as I was taking notes, I had a memory of a Smurf cartoon. Smurfs were my favorite cartoon growing up. And Smurfette was dancing for a talent show, and everyone laughed at her because she was clumsy, she fell, she couldn't twirl, she just looked silly. And all the Smurfs laughed at her, so she cried and ran to Papa Smurf. Papa Smurf, make me a spell that I can be a good dancer. You know, can't you use your magic to make me a good dancer? And he just told her, you know, Smurfette, you need to practice. And she went into the forest crying, oh, boo-hoo, you know, I'm no good, because she kept trying, and she practiced maybe 2 or 3 more times, and she still wasn't any better. And, you know, the Smurfs were laughing at her, and she felt humiliated and rejected. And then, you know, the evil wizard, you know, offered her magic shoes, but, you know, it was all a ploy to get to her. And it was, you know, the whole lesson is the hard work pays off, and the proof's in the pudding. Practice makes perfect. I mean, these aren't new concepts. It's just actually doing it. And I love what Marissa Peer said today about self-sabotage and procrastination. She said it really boils down to a fear of rejection. You know, a fear of rejection. So I need to first accept myself, and I'm doing that by following through on the goals that I set for myself, and one of them is making these videos, and I've made it past the 10-minute mark now. So I'm gonna shut this off and give it a listen.